up, Internet? My name is Michael Cook, this is Blue Giant Media, and we're here to connect through gaming. Today, we're going to take a look at Wingspan. We're going to get a quick overview of the rules, we're going to come back, and I'm going to let you know what I do like, what I don't like, and who may or may not like Wingspan. Alright, here I have Wingspan set up for 2 players. You can see each player is going to be dealt 2 and keep 1 objective card for final end game scoring. They'll be kept secret, but I'm keeping everything face up so you can see them. You'll be given 5 bird cards and 5 food tokens, 1 of each type. And between those 2, you'll keep a total of 5 things. In this case, I kept 3 birds and 2 food. And I did the same for myself over here as well. And you've got some end of round scoring goals for each the 4 different rounds. Player's going to have the first player token, and then you're going to have 3 cards face up here to choose from, as well as the supply for more objective cards and more birds. And everything for the eggs and food tokens is centrally located. On your turn, you're going to take one of 4 different actions. You're going to either play a bird, gain food, lay eggs, or draw bird cards. If you have more birds out, say this one can only live in the forest, same thing with this one, and this one can live in any of the 3. You can see it can live in any of the 3 different habitats there. Let's say that I had these 3 birds out. Then what I would do is you look at the furthest left open space in the action you're trying to take, which for gaining food is this. That would let me take 2 food from here. I could take like this one and then this one. If you have a situation where all the food in the feeder is the same type of food or the same face, then you, instead of drawing one of those, you can take all of the dice and roll them and then draw. So I'd go ahead and take 2 food with the option to discard a bird card from my hand to take a 3rd food. Then I would go down the line here. This bird doesn't do anything for me. It says once in between turns. It says when another player plays a forest bird, then I get to gain a grub. So that is something that activates when your opponents do something, the pink band on them. Then I would go down the line here. This one says that I get to hunt. When activated, look at a card from the deck. If its wingspan is less than 75 centimeters, which in this case it is 155 centimeters, this is too big for my barred owl to take. So it's going to just go ahead and escape. If I did succeed in hunting it, which I can go ahead and try it again, because now it goes down the line to the next bird, which this is a red-shouldered hawk, which also has a hunting ability, which happens to be the same. So I will turn over another card. In this case, this bird has a 46 centimeter wingspan, so I will go ahead and tuck it underneath because it is a trophy, it is a kill, and any cards tucked under are going to be worth 1 point each at the end of the game. And that would be what I get for this action now. So that's how gaining food works, especially if you have other birds. Let's say, for instance, I had this bird here, because it can go in any habitat. I'm going to move this down here so you can see it better. If I take this action right here, I'm going to get 2 eggs. I can place them on any birds that I have. In this case, I have, hypothetically, just this one bird, and it can only hold 2 eggs in its nest. So if it already had one, I'm out of luck. I could only put 1 on there. If I have more birds, I can spread them out, put them whichever birds that I want. I also have the option of spending a food to put another egg out. Eggs are also, like the cards that can be tucked under from hunts, are also worth 1 point each at the end of the game. Then, same as before, you would go down the line activating any of the brown abilities and until you get to the end. The bottom one right here is to draw bird cards, which works similar to the other ones in that the more birds that you have in the water habitat, the marsh habitat, wetlands, whatever you want to call it, the more that you have, the more cards you're going to be able to draw. So up here you pay cards to get more food, you pay food to get more eggs here, and then you pay eggs to get more cards down at the bottom. So it's got a little kind of rotating balance of powers, like a rock, paper, scissors almost kind of thing, where this helps you with that helps you with this helps you around the circle. Alright, playing a bird though. So we've talked about gaining food, laying eggs, drawing bird cards. You can also play a bird by paying the food cost to basically attract that bird to a habitat. In this case, this bird could go to any of the 3 habitats, and it will come to that habitat if you have either a grub or a berry to lure it there. Anatomy of the card continues. Here we have this one's worth 2 points. It has this kind of shaped nest, which a lot of times has to do with either these or these goals, and it can hold 2 eggs. Pink has to do with abilities that activate on opponents' turns, like I said. Brown has to do with things that activate as you move down that row. And then there's other ones that don't have either. That's either going to give you an immediate ability, and then there's some that don't say anything down here just because they're worth a lot of points. And then over here is the wingspan of the bird. Up here's the name of the bird. Oftentimes the name will correspond to, again, end game bonuses. And down here at the bottom is just kind of fun facts that I don't believe has anything to do with any of the actual gameplay. So you'll go ahead and take all of your different actions. Oh, and one last thing. You can spend 2 of any type of food to count as one other. So let's say I was really trying to get... pretend I don't have a berry, but I got this, and I'm trying to play this bird right here. I got the grub, but I have these other 2. Well, I can spend these 2 to count as the berry, and overpay by paying 3 in order to put that bird into play. If I want to put more birds into play in that same column on subsequent rounds, I'm going to have to pay eggs in addition to the food. So now I need to basically provide more in order to have those birds actually come by. Birds have to, I guess, live there long enough to... I don't know. I'm not sure how exactly that works thematically for us as the ornithologists or bird watchers or whatever, but obviously birds need eggs to hatch, so it works that way. After you've used all of your actions taking these different choices, you will then take all of them off the board. You will rotate the first player token, you will clear out these cards, and then you will score, so at least for the round bonus. So here you would mark, like, okay, I've got, let's say at the end of the round, this bird had 1 egg, and this bird had 2 eggs. So I have a total of 3 eggs in the forest. So I would put that on the 3. Maybe at the end of the round, you've got 1. So you're going to put 1. And those will stay there then, so that the next round you have only 7 actions that you can take. And then you'll go ahead and mark what you did in that round. So the next round you got 6, and then 5 in the last round, and then you mark. At the end of the 4th round, you will look at all of these, you'll total up these points, you will total up the points on your birds, you will total up the points from your end game objective, you'll total up the points from eggs, tokens that are on cards, and cards that are tucked under from hunts, and you'll get your final score from that, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game is going to be the winner. So I know there's a lot of different strategies that you can go for, and one of the things that's really interesting is trying to figure out what is going to work well together as far as your goal, the round goals, how many points you have. Do you want to get more eggs? Do you want to focus on here because you've got cards that have lots of hunt and you just want to like stack this up? Do you want to get them all kind of even so all of your actions are pretty good? And it just makes for a really fun balance of trying to figure out what is going to be the best way, and losing the actions as the game goes on is interesting because you have fewer actions, but at the same time you don't really get to do that much less because your actions are so much stronger as you have more birds in play.
Now that you have a pretty good idea of how Wingspan plays, I want to let you know first what I do like about the game. I don't think that there's anybody who has brought the game up who has not then mentioned the spectacular production quality of the game. I don't think it's possible to speak about Wingspan and not talk about the 150 or whatever different illustrations of birds, the little plastic eggs, the just production quality of the game is ridiculous. The quality of the cards, the quality of the dang rule book. Like, what is that thing made out of? It feels like it's like a texturized rubber almost, but vinyl, or I don't know. It doesn't feel like paper. It feels so soft, and the books that fold and look like a little notebook journal or whatever, and somehow it even feels like leather even though it's paper. It's ridiculous how good the production quality is for this game. So anyway, I'm going to step off of that for a second. I really enjoy engine building games. This is a solid engine building game. I very much enjoyed trying to think, okay, well, I can do this, which lets me do this, and trying to combo. Okay, I want to build. I want to attract this bird to this habitat so that when I take the action, this combos with it, and things can kind of snowball. It's really satisfying, and it's a whole lot of fun. It's crunchy, which I know is a cheesy board game term, but it makes you think. Okay, well, I could put this there, but okay, well, I got to do this first, but I only have so many actions, and you're trying to figure out how to do everything you want to do. So, immensely rewarding at the same time, as a little bit difficult, as building this momentum as the game goes on. You get your engine stronger and stronger and stronger. Leaves you wanting another round or two, or at least a few more actions at least, because you're never going to be able to do quite all the things that you want to do, or at least not do them as well as you would like to do. Now, the things that I don't like about the game, I feel like I'm not quite 100% sold on the balance of everything. I've seen some people talk about like, oh, all you have to do is just get eggs, get a bajillion eggs, and that doesn't really jive to me. I think that if you focus on that to the exclusion of all else, you're not going to get very many eggs. There's other things that you have to do in order to get that, and those other things that you do also give you a reasonable amount of points, as well as enabling you. So I think to try and think of it that is simplistic, but I do wish that the goal cards were either easier to get or were worth more points. Some of them can be worth a lot, like the ones that are kind of open-ended that say, oh, it's worth 2 points for every bird that is this. And maybe it's not, maybe it's birds that hunt or birds that have wingspan more than this or whatever. Is the ones that say, if you have this many, you get this many points. If you have this many, you get this many points. Those tend to not be as good, in my opinion. So I think that maybe just a little bit more parity in the goals, or just the ability to get more of them. I tend to like the goal-oriented scoring cards, and I was let down a little bit by that in here. Other things that I don't like about the game is I one of those who just, I wish that I could do more. Sometimes it just, I won't say it's slow, but maybe I have to work a little bit harder than I wanted. Like I wanted to accomplish more. Probably not wording that right, but hopefully you get what I mean. So who's gonna like this game? I think a lot of people. I think that there's a reason why it's as popular as it is, and it's not just because of a really well done kind of media campaign by Stonemaier Games. I mean, it was brilliant. I love when a publisher says, hey, here's this game, it'll be available in a couple weeks, instead of, here's this game, it's coming out next year. So, well, then I hate when movie studios do this and talk about, like, hey, I remember at one point they were talking about movies that were coming out in like 3 years, and they had trailers in the theaters. So I can't get amped now. That's too far in the future. So it was extremely well done that suddenly it was there on a whole bunch of different social media platforms. They had tons of these reviews, and just suddenly it dropped, and everyone was like, whoa, this looks great. What, you mean I can get it in a couple weeks? And I'm not sure how much of that was deliberate, because obviously Stonemaier was caught off guard a little bit by the demand for the game. But I think that was just, it was really well done. That aside, now that I've ranted, I think that still it deserves the hype that it has. Maybe a touch less than it has, but not a whole lot less. It lives up for the most part to the hype, in my opinion. It's a really solid game, so if you like engine building games, you like games with different themes, some variety in themes, like, oh, I don't have a game that does that in my collection, it's great for that. So, if you like games with great production quality, if you like games that... that's pretty much what I got there, off the top of my head. People who are not going to like this game, and I guess I'll throw in one more thing that I don't like, I feel like there's not enough cycling of the bird cards. sometimes the 3 that are out there is like, okay, well, I can just keep drawing off the deck, sure, but maybe like if you got to draw a bird card, or at least one at the beginning of each of the 4 rounds, just to kind of get a little bit more in the game. But I know that would undermine the action in the marsh, so tough call. But I just wish that I could see more, or maybe there's tons of house rules that you can do. But if you want to see a little bit more of it, I think that you just don't get to see as much as I want, and that might bother you too. So really, there's not a whole lot to complain about in my opinion, other than you're not going to get to do as much as you want. Maybe the goals were a little bit lackluster, and maybe you hate birds. But overall, I don't think that there's a lot of people who won't like the game unless it's maybe a touch heavier than you would think, but it's not a heavy game by any means. And now I'm just rambling, so I'll go ahead and cut it off there. Alright, so let's go ahead and take the spotlight off of Wingspan by Elizabeth Hargrave and published by Stonemaier Games. If you have any feedback for me, anything that I was completely wrong about, anything that I'm completely overlooking, any feedback for me on the channel, games, whatever, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to connect with you. And if you want to know more about Wingspan, take a look in the description section where you can find a link to my unboxing, my setup and gameplay sample, as well as a link to macronovagames.com where you can buy Wingspan and a whole bunch of other great games. Until next time, I want to thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like what you see, and as always, have a wonderful day.